It's not the loudest man in the room who commands attention. It's not the one boasting, flexing, or putting on a show. No, the man she notices, the one who lingers in her thoughts long after he's left the room, is the one who moves differently, the one who carries himself with silent certainty. He doesn't seek attention, yet somehow he receives it. He doesn't perform, yet people watch. And women, they feel it. They sense something rare in him, a presence, a calm gravity, a mystery. He doesn't need to shout because his silence says enough. He doesn't chase, beg, or over-explain. He simply is. And in a world filled with noise, his quiet confidence becomes a thunderclap. This man lives by a code. He doesn't bend to impress. He doesn't need validation. He doesn't fumble for approval. He walks into the world as if he belongs there. Not because of arrogance, but because of deep inner certainty. That's Stoicism. When a man truly understands himself, when he has trained his emotions and mastered his impulses, he becomes unshakable. That's when she notices him, not for what he tries to be, but for what he no longer needs to prove. A Stoic man moves with purpose. In a public space, his demeanor stands out because it's rare. While others are glued to their phones, lost in self-consciousness, or begging for attention through filters and loud behavior, he is still, present, watching, listening, reading the room, and conserving his energy. Women feel this like a frequency. She doesn't necessarily understand it logically, but something about him tells her this man is different. He's not reactive. He's not needy. He's not interested in pleasing everyone. And ironically, that's exactly why people are drawn to him, including her. She sees how he treats others, not with forced charm, but with integrity. He doesn't try to be liked. He tries to be just. He speaks when needed. But when he speaks, there's depth behind his words. Thoughtfulness. Precision. He doesn't gossip. He doesn't rant. He doesn't try to win the room with shallow humor. Instead, he wins it by his restraint. She notices the way he holds his posture. Relaxed, but alert. Grounded. He's not puffed up, but he's not collapsed either. He exists in balance. Strength without aggression. Grace without softness. She watches how he interacts. He's polite, but not a pushover. He doesn't seek her out, but he doesn't shrink away either. He respects himself. That's rare, and rarity is magnetic. You see, the Stoic man doesn't perform in public for attention. He lives in alignment with his values, whether someone is watching or not. But ironically, when someone does watch, especially a woman, she can't help but feel the difference, because he's not trying to impress her, and that alone impresses her more than he could ever imagine. Most men are trained to peacock, to prove, to exaggerate, to compete loudly for female gaze. But the Stoic man, he doesn't compete. He doesn't need to. He understands that value doesn't need a commercial. It just needs to exist and be recognized by those with the eyes to see. This is the paradox of true masculine presence. The more you try to be seen, the more you disappear. The more you detach from needing to be seen, the more visible you become. So what does this man do publicly that draws women in? He commands space without crowding it. He listens more than he speaks. He moves deliberately without haste. He does small things with care, opening a door, placing his phone face down, offering his full attention to someone speaking. He doesn't seek the spotlight, but when it hits him, he doesn't flinch, because he's not pretending. His authenticity is unshakable. That is what women crave, not perfection, but realness, grounded, emotionally sovereign, and free from the chains of performance. When a man isn't desperate to be liked, he becomes intriguing. When he doesn't sell himself, he becomes more valuable. Because in a world full of boys who need to be seen to feel alive, a man who is already alive within himself becomes a force of nature. Women are drawn to that, not because of status, not because of money, but because emotional depth is rare. Self-possession is rare. Silence with purpose is rare. Stoicism teaches that public behavior should be an extension of private discipline. A Stoic man isn't just composed when others are watching. He's composed always because he's not performing for the crowd. He's aligned with something deeper, his purpose, his virtue, his values. And when a woman sees a man living like that, she senses something ancient, something sacred. He feels trustworthy, not because he flatters her, but because he's honest, not because he showers her with attention, but because he respects her space as much as his own. Women are drawn to men who do this in public, live as if they don't need to be noticed. And the irony? That's when they're noticed most. They don't make women the center of their world. They make purpose the center. And from that purpose, they create gravity. From that gravity, respect is born. Admiration follows. And sometimes desire. If you want to be that man, don't fake it. Don't pretend to be stoic. Be stoic. Build yourself in silence. Become a master of your emotions. Respect your own time, mind, and energy. And in every public space, bring your private character with you. Because she doesn't fall for the man who entertains the room. She falls for the one who owns his presence without needing anyone to validate it. That's what women notice. That's what pulls them in quietly, deeply, and without effort. In the end, it's not about how many eyes are on you, but how well you see yourself. A stoic man doesn't chase attraction. He cultivates value. Let her be drawn to that. Not your performance, but your power. Not your noise, but your presence. So the next time you walk into a room, remember, you don't need to announce yourself. Your energy will do it for you. Live as if you already have nothing to prove. And watch who notices. If you found this message valuable, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stoic wisdom. And continue building the kind of inner strength that doesn't just attract, but transforms. Until next time, walk with quiet strength. And never forget, the world sees you differently when you no longer need to be seen.